are tuning into another exciting adventure of Fairfield 2.0. And don't take it from me, take it from these guys. Look who we've got today. We've got Dave Larice, we have got Regina Constant, and we've got Rich Sims, all celebrities in Fairfield. And I'm Mike Ragogna, but you knew that. I wanna start by obviously it's like, which one of these is not like the other? We've got Regina over here who is wearing a very conservative outfit today for the show, and
my most conservative one.
I'm very grateful that you did. I mean, can you imagine?
Yes.
I want to start. Let's start off with Regine does a lot of dance in town. She has her own classes. She participates in many of the not exotic dancing, ethnic dancing. But we're going to have you describe that, not me, because obviously I'm not doing a good job with this. But you do, and under the concept, if we were to just take it to the layman's term of what people refer to it as, they would say belly dancing, right?
Yes, it's called belly dance.
All right. When did you get into belly dancing?
About 10 years ago.
Did you, how did that progress? I mean, were you watching it and were you a fan for years and then it's like, I'm going to do that?
No, not really. My background is actually in theater.
Ah.
And, but I've also done African dance and different dance forms throughout the years. And I used to dance at a restaurant here called Baba's Falafel.
Baba's Falafel?
Yeah.
And you all remember Baba's Falafel?
Yeah.
I don't remember. I'm here 2 years.
That was cool.
I have no idea.
It was a great
Yeah, they
place.
had drumming circles every Friday evenings, and I just started dancing in drumming circles, and I noticed that I was doing something a little different every time, and the movements were kind of more controlled and more isolated, and it felt really good. I was like, wow, I must be belly dancing, you know? And so I just kind of followed that thread and went to classes and just continued with it.
Did you feel like, when you took classes and you were learning about it, but did you feel like as you were doing it, like this was it was becoming more natural, like, oh, this is really what I should be doing?
Yes, it became more natural as I progressed. Like every week I found that I got more confident.
Right.
I found the movements were easier to do.
Right.
And I became more flexible. I got in shape, and I became a lot more confident in myself as a woman.
Nice.
So there were just tremendous benefits.
Now, getting more confidence in yourself as a woman. Dance is one of those self-expressions where people don't know what to do with that. Some people, they look at dance as sort of like, oh, shocking. And then other people look at it as, it's like a singer. The creative forces or energy or whatever has to come out in a physical way in the case of a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was a dancer. I didn't even know that until she passed away, and I was at her funeral with my aunt. And she goes, and I knew she was a singer. I knew she was a nightclub singer, but I never knew that she was a dancer. So we're there, and she said something like, we could tell you got the genetics of your mother, because she used to dance and she used to be. And I went, what? She used to dance? And when I think about it, there was always this presence, there was always this posture, there was always this thing about her. In addition to how she looked, her body, she was always in shape. She was a very beautiful woman until she started getting older, and then she didn't like the way she looked, so she wouldn't anyway. But one of the cool things about dancing I felt, and what that brought into my household, without her even saying anything, was it was a balance. There was something about her presence, the presence of that creative energy was flowing that way too, and I just didn't know it. I wasn't able to appreciate it. I wasn't able to identify it at the time. When you're in the midst of doing it, when you're in the midst of, let me rephrase this. When you're in the midst of belly dancing, do you feel like there is this? And you sort of said yes before, but I'd like to get into more detail about that. What are you feeling? What exactly is going on internally?
Bliss. That's the best way to describe it. It's a buzzword in this community. Feelings of enjoyment, complete fulfillment. When
Really?
I'm in that space, when I'm not really thinking about it. I've gotten to the point, I've been doing it for 10 years, where it's totally natural for me. It just feels like I was born to do this. And that's why I want to share it with women all over the world. And the only thing exotic about it was that, it's commonly known to be done in the Middle East. However, belly dance has been done all over the world. And it's not just something that's like a fringe thing, it's like a foreign thing. there's a lot of Westerners like myself, Americans and Europeans, and who are actually taking this up.
Nice. Do you feel a sisterhood with other women who do this too?
We do.
Is there an empowerment then within the group of women who are doing it?
Yes. As a matter of fact, I'm starting a company called Belly Dance for Women's Health and Empowerment.
Nice.
And that's exactly what it is. Because women have been doing this for thousands of years in the company of each other.
Right.
And actually the movements that we do, like the belly rolls and the undulations and the figure eights, they were used in women's birthing circles, fertility rituals, and things like that.
I was just about to ask you what the history of what the origins were, and I was also going to ask her something mischievous, which is, can you show us perhaps maybe one or two, real quick, just one or two things that you might do?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
So one of the basic belly dance moves is a figure eight. So if you're standing just feet flat on the floor, knees slightly bent and shoulders back, this is your confidence, pose right here.
Yeah.
So you want to isolate just this area. So you're going to push your hips forward and you're twisting your waist at the same time. So you push and twist, push and twist. So you're isolating these muscles. So your abs have to work, to do this.
Right.
And so you're creating kind of like a figure eight on the floor.
Nice.
And then you can do it backwards too.
Yeah.
And men do this also in the Middle East. It's been marketed as a, seductive kind of thing.
No.
But it's not just that. I mean, the men in the Middle East do, it's kind of like if you go to a Latin country, they'll do salsa and samba as well. So the men will move their hips too because it's an integrative experience.
I noticed a little sound happening.
Yes. So these are, the women used to wear their dowry or their wealth on their clothing and display what they had. So they would make, clothes with whatever was in their environment, money and, scars and things like that. So when you do these movements, you can kind of display what you have.
Yes.
You have all the coins up in the nice places there.
Yeah, exactly.
You indeed. Now men can do this too, you're saying?
Yes, men can do.
Davala.
Yeah. I can show you right now.
Davala works at the rec center. We're a very athletic team over at the rec center. So you'd be able to show Davala like a quick move even, huh?
Yes, I can show you a very cool move. Like an upper body move called the snake arms.
Okay.
So you're going to lift your shoulder up towards your ears and as you lift your shoulder up, allow your elbows to follow with it and extend it out.
Like this way?
Yeah. So
you're just bringing it down like this?
Yeah, bring it down like that. Yeah.
So you're bringing it up?
Yeah. So let's try one first.
Just one
Let's
arm?
just do one arm first, yeah.
Okay.
So up, so shoulder, elbow, extend out to the wrist and fingers. Good. Shoulder, elbow, wrist, fingers. Other side. Oh, you're pretty flexible. Good. Shoulder, elbow.
He's been doing this for years. He's not letting on. Yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah. Some people.
So are you bringing your hand up as it's coming up or after this? Like the elbow's already up? And then
Yeah, so shoulders first, elbow, and then wrist and fingers. Okay, now alternate. I don't have a lot of room, but let's improvise. Yeah. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, kind of like moving through space and time. Okay, and I'll show you a little bit of the hip movements. So I show the figure eight. You're not
In
done
for a
yet.
penny, in for a pound, as they say.
Okay, so you're gonna twist forward, side to side. So just focus on like
Am I
down
trying to
here.
keep my shoulders from
keep
following?
your shoulders from following. Just focus on the bottom section. Yeah. There you go. Wow.
This is amazing.
And then up and down.
And the first.
So,
Up and down. This
Yes.
is going to be hard.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. well, lifting
gonna
hips
giggle.
up and down. Yeah. Good.
Oh, you're going to be popular in parties, young man.
No, women love this. Seriously.
Women love this.
All your body parts, women will love you.
Nice.
Thank you.
Come on, we have to.
Oh,
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Rich used to be
Oh,
my dancing
you
partner.
were a dancing partner. Get your butt off of that chair. Let's
she
go, young
considered me
man.
one of her advanced students.
That's true. No, Rich,
Nice.
you
Can you show him just one
I
quick
don't
little
know.
thing?
Yeah, sure.
One little thing,
Let's
tiny
see.
thing.
All right, I don't know.
Let's see if you remember
All right,
anything.
we'll see. Well, I don't know. We'll see.
Okay, let's see if you can do the twist. There you go.
Yeah.
And then let's add some arms with that. Oh, look at him. See? I taught him well. I should
Again, here we go. How do you feel after that, Rich?
Hey, good.
Dave, are you
Actually, it's a
feeling
good-
Okay, good.
exercise word.
Feeling strong. I have to ask, when you give classes, you give instruction as you gave to Rich here,
Yeah.
and just now to Davila.
Yeah.
What is your class involved? What do you teach in your classes?
Yeah, I teach the basic movements. I break it down just like we did
Just
just
now.
now. Yeah, so we start, because what I want to do is I want to facilitate body awareness in my students. Because I notice a lot of people will think, oh, I have to think about what I'm doing.
Right.
Yes. You know, so, and technique is very important, because the teachers I learned from really stressed technique,
Yeah.
so that you're doing it properly and that you're doing it safely, because you don't want to hurt, and injure yourself as well. So,
Can that happen?
yeah, sure.
You mean like throwing out
Throw
like
back-
your
throw out
lower back or something?
back, or like if you're extending out too far.
You pull muscles or
pulling
something?
muscles,
Okay.
yeah. So they're meant to be gentle.
Yeah.
And I tell students, it might look kind of funny at first. It might feel funny at first, but be patient with yourself. Have a sense of humor, and have fun. And you'll see you'll start to progress, and
Beautiful.
it'll get better and better.
Now, as aerobics, this has to be one of the more healthy things that you can do. It seems to be exercising all sorts of muscles that we don't even,
Yeah, exactly.
you're not even using
like
free
when-
weights and stuff, or you can't use for. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's a great alternative to aerobics
Nice.
because it's low impact and it's gentle on the joints. But it's also some weight bearing, like when you do the hip movements, if you do them with your knees bent,
Yeah.
that's some weight bearing as well. And as you quicken the steps, then that takes you into like cardio as well. But it's a great way, again, like for women, even for you, for men, those movements like we're doing right now, it like strengthens your shoulders, and if you keep doing this, it'll work your triceps as well. And then and when you do like the undulations, which is like back and forth kind of movements, that helps for your spine to be flexible. So there's
Beautiful.
a lot of great benefits.
Breaking all sorts of barriers on the show today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Fairfield 2.0, if you just joined us. We have Regine Constant, we have Rich Sims, and we have Davila Reese. And Davila Reese, did you bring your computer, sir?
Yeah.
We have a real treat here. Davila and I have worked together at the Rec Center for a while, and it's always fun, when you're working with people or when you're talking, things come up. Somehow, and I don't remember how, it came up that you do that you're a poet, that you write poetry. And I was like, oh, cool, show me something. And I think at the time maybe I was being a little more polite than not. And he shows me these, was it haikus? What did you show me? You didn't show me haikus. You showed me a few things that were. He shows me these. I didn't know the format. There's a certain format maybe for a couple of the things that you showed me. I'm just naming it wrong.
I know there was one Sestina in there.
Okay. What happened was when you were showing me this poetry, I'm going, oh wait, oh this is like the real thing. This is good stuff. Oh, and I work with him. Oh, this is very cool. So we put him in the Huffington Post, and I think that was I forgot what the poems were. We had two, right?
Yeah, there were two that we
I
put
think
in.
there too. But we brought some today, and would it be okay? Can you read some of your poetry
Sure.
today? Because I feel
Sure.
like everybody should know this poetry. You out there, you'll be tested after this.
I'm not especially prepped because I was invited to be on the show literally like half an hour before I showed up.
No way! Who did that to you?
But let's see, poetry. I can do. I've got the ones that we put on Huffington Post here.
Okay, sure.
Then
Let's start. You
some.
want to start there? Sure.
Sure. I'm gonna do this one first. This one's kind of appropriate to be after following the belly dancing. It's a ghazal, or ghazal, depending on what language you speak. It's the same word in several languages, but it's Middle Eastern form. It originated as a mystic poetry form. Traditionally, it's defined by something that you can tell more when you're looking at it than when you hear it read, but something that is contextually relevant to hearing it is that this was the poetry form that, for example, most of the work of the Sufi poets like Rumi and Hafez and people like that wrote most of their poetry in. And there are certain traditions in that poetic culture of metaphoric use of things like wine and drunkenness in taverns to describe being drunk on love of God. That was really a big part of the Sufi mystic poetic tradition.
Did they do that in order to safeguard or in order to disguise it a little?
Some, yeah, because there was a lot of disapproval of these people from Orthodox Muslims
There
who
you
they
go.
were living among, and there's also a certain tradition which I followed in this. A lot of people writing modern ghazals don't follow this, which is cool too. A lot of those poems are great that play with the form more, but traditionally the last couplet, these are poems in couplets, 2-line groups, begins with the author naming themselves. Like they would always the last couplet would be like, Rumi says the following. So I follow that tradition in this one. So this one I was kind of combining the Middle Eastern form with a more Indian devotional aspect as well. Anyway, I'll stop talking about it. So the title of this one that I gave to it was Milky Dream. I can't find a way out of my tavern. Even when I stumble out the door, I'm still inside it. It's like a dream from which I can't wake, but then I don't really want to. It's a dream spilling over with foamy joy, and it feels so much more real than what they call the real world. Though I'm drunk with wine flowing into my ears, like the music of the flute player dancing on the table, greedily eyeing the butter pot hanging from a beam, sniffing deeply its chubby musk scent. Climb onto my shoulders, my lord, and eat the butter. I'll hold your weight somehow, even if you become the milk cow. Devala says, I beg you to break my back if you'll let me take one lick of your sweetness.
Oh man.
Wow.
See what I mean? Oh my God. And were you using some of that? Obviously, as you set this up, you were talking about how traditionally, use the tavern as a metaphor for. Now, did you do that in this also? Were you using the?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it was a mix. Because you also have wanting to feed the Lord, so you also had the actual devotional. I mean, kind of devotional part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just playing around with that poetic tradition with that one.
Nice. What else does Devala says?
This other one, this was the other one that we put on Huffington Post. Did I close it? No, here it is. This one is not a traditional form, it's just free form.
And by the way, we're talking with Devala Reese, poet and Rec Center star.
So this one I wrote when I was in an airplane. I tend to write poetry when I'm on airplanes. It's how I pass a lot of the time. And there's a lot of cool scenery looking out the window when you're in the sky. So I wrote this. What worlds lie on the roofs of clouds? Faint mists fade in and out of being, phantom isles phasing at the edge of form, the spray from the unseen waves of the sea that is the sky, at the turning of the tides of fire and water and frost, dawn and noon and dusk, sun and moon and stars, wind flow, life breath, and deathly void. A few of the sky's flighty dreams find shape, taking root and sprouting forth from the air, to grow into amorphous canopies of fog, great plains of cottony sky grasses and drifting snows, rolling hills and craters and wind-carved spires tall, darkly brooding wrathful storms abrew, and mighty cloud mountains of fantastic scale, all stretching to the hazy brink, the indistinct edges of the shapeless abyss. Tiers of cloudscapes stack between earth and void, a honeycomb shell of shifting passing dreamlands. Day and night paint the soul on the sky's moist skin, the bright white purity of noontide's hours, the deep blue shadow mask of timeless midnight, and the precious fleeting moments in between, when golden crimson violet beauty flares to life, blazes gloriously across heaven's glowing face, and dies so young, that splash of molten love falling back into the cloudy sea.
Wow.
Yeah. So, are you inspired by, an episode of Family Guy? And then you just get to write one of these? How do you get inspired? What inspires you to suddenly write?
I got started writing poetry with a tutor, actually, Ninka Pussy. She was Ninka Dochas back then, before she married. She's a writing professor. She's the main writing professor at MUM. And she actually tutored me since I was 11.
Yeah,
Just at my
nice.
house.
Oh.
And yeah, she's one of my best friends. So she was my writing teacher, and her specialty is poetry, so we did a lot of that. So a lot of my poetry was actually written, that first one, the Ghazal, was written as a school assignment. I wrote that in an MUM class. And these other ones were just, like I said, on an airplane. I'm just sitting there going like, well, I have hours to spend somehow, and there are really pretty clouds outside, and I would just open up my laptop or take out a piece of paper or something and write.
And sometimes the event has nothing to do with what's coming out afterwards.
Yeah.
The trigger will have nothing to do with it.
Oh, yeah, all the time. I mean, honestly, the trigger is usually just having a spare moment and feeling like it. It's rarely something that happens that makes... I mean, sometimes something happens and it's like, that's really cool, I have to write about that. But a lot of the time I'll just be like, well, I'm here, nothing's going on right now, I'll write. That's kind of one of the...
You know how envy... Half of Fairfield right now is going, I want to kill that kid. Yeah, you know how envious people could be of that because, people have writer's block and they struggle to write. They have to go do the artist's way and all of these processing things in order to get everything out. And you're like, yeah, well, there were clouds outside the airplane, so I thought I'd write this. I think it's amazing to be able to access that, and also whenever you want. It's just a beautiful thing, and congratulations that you actually have that superpower. That's another superpower. There was superpowers earlier. What about? I want to. Usually people. Oh, the mischief abounds. Usually I have people come, like if it's usually musicians and they're all kind of singing together or they're doing something together, and I'll go, hey, can you all do something together? I want to pose this out to you out there. And I'll bet this has never happened to you before, Davila, and I'll bet this has never happened to you before, although something like this may have. Is there, this may be as tacky as anything, you let me know. It's like, nah, we don't do that. But would it be cool to like read something that you've written and then have some sort of a dance enactment of what's going on, or just not of the lyrics, but not of the poetry, but of the feel that you're going through as he's reading.
That's actually, you're right. I'm actually doing something like that April 6th.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
April 6th, then what's
Oh.
happening on April 6th? Of course, the show is going to air way after April 6th. What happens then, way back
when? We're
when?
doing storytelling, poetry, and dance, Middle Eastern theme,
Nice.
based on the Arabian Nights.
Oh, cool.
1001 Arabian Nights. We're doing a couple of stories from there.
Nice.
And actually for May, Art Walk, which is just next month, where I'm actually
We may
doing
also
it.
blow past that. So, wasn't that a great May art walk? That was one of the best I
Yeah,
remember.
I'm actually doing a belly dance to The Little Mermaid.
Oh,
A duet
nice.
with partner dance
Cool.
with a male dancer. So,
Is there a male dancer in town that can keep up with you?
well, I'm training him. Yeah.
Oh.
Slowly
Take
but
it all
surely,
back.
there'll be more, right?
Right, David. Look at it. Well,
Sure, yeah. Maybe that Rumi one might be.
or do you want to try? Do you have one that maybe? I mean, even a
There's-
random one,
Sure.
like surprise us.
There's one that
Sure.
honestly that just brought to mind exactly. I think you've heard this one. I think it was in the ones that I sent you. It's not one of the ones we put on Huffington Post.
Ah. What do you think of all this, Jason Strong, guy behind the camera, director, producer extraordinaire?
I think it's great.
Yeah, this one's like a little longer. It's not super long. It's like maybe twice the length of those ones. So, am I reading this and then she dances, or
No, why don't you do it
simultaneous, or what?
together, simultaneous,
Where's she gonna stand?
just
in
as she
place
did
right here?
before.
Okay.
You can come on up.
Is that enough room?
Come on this table. No, not on this table.
I do it sometimes, but this one looks kind of flimsy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
do
don't
it
know
on the
about
table.
standing
Yeah.
on that table.
Yeah. Maybe if we move it aside a little bit.
Yeah, do you want to be able to step? and
Yeah,
stuff?
then that way I have a little more.
Okay,
Oh,
everybody
the-
brace your,
Or
yeah.
you need to
How
move
about,
over
Okay,
is there
maybe
enough like
right
before?
there.
Okay, sure.
Maybe
Will
on
we
the
be able to
side.
catch that on
Yeah.
camera? Oh, Jason Strong? Okay,
We're professionals here.
this is great.
Thinking on feet.
Rich Sims, you're not off the hook yet.
This is okay. Yeah.
Okay. You ready? Okay. So this one is, I actually mentioned this one earlier. This is the sestina that I was talking about. It's a form of sixes. It's 6 stanzas, which are like paragraphs or verses. In poetry, they're called stanzas. Ending with the same 6 words on the end of each line every time, but in a different order.
Oh, wow.
With certain complex rules to it that I won't explain. And this one was another one that was inspired by something that I actually just did. Went out and danced in rain. Struck me as appropriate because it's kind of about dancing. The title is Rakasena. The storm's name is Rakasena. Like a watery aurora is her dance, across the dreaming, boiling sea of the sky. Her 100 heads toss their hair the lightning. Her dark eyes and her cloudy face weep a rain of tears. With tribal drums and thunderous wails she sings. Standing one-legged, like the trees behind me, I sing. Rakase, rakase, rakasena. My face runs with her tears. To her song and mine I dance, my hands flinging pinches of silent echoes that burst in lightning, glowing, flowing curls of jagged smoothness in the sky. The field below is a mirror of the sky. Dead corn stumps come alive like flutes and sing. Clear rain pools glimpse down to subterranean lightning. In underworld and heaven lives Rakasena. The bones of earth join her dance. Earth washes her hair in Rakasena's tears. The trees behind me shed gray tears of this hour's ecstasy and all-time sorrow under the sky. With weighted wind wrapped on their old arms they dance. Sloshing water in their leafy mouths they sing. Rakase, rakase, rakasena. The trees' 100 faces flash with the stark shadows of lightning. The knee-tall grass strands around my legs lash like lightning, nuzzling their 100 faces on my skin to wipe their tears, as their root mouths drink the milk of Rakasena that pours from her fertile cloud breasts in the sky. Droplet-weighted foxtails shake like rattles and sing. Rolling and swelling waves across the grass lake they dance. Rakasena, take my hand, let us dance. Through my spine, my veins surge thy lightning. Lend me thy winds, thy thunder, let us sing. I shall rain with you this hour, rain ecstatic tears. Lift me with your tornadic arms into the sky. Rakase, rakase, rakasena. Goodbye, I sing to you with my tears. Your lightning flickers farewell from the far reaches of the eastern sky. Dance ever on, dance, dance, Rakasena.
Oh man! Wow! Well, there's the two of your video. Going to hit the road with that one.
Yeah.
Wow. So Rakasena, and meanwhile you're doing the Macarena. That's how that works. How them joined together. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
That was really wonderful from both of you. It like flowed out of you and it flowed out of you. Although I did miss the De Villa says. Where was that?
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Would you like to perform that at my show?
When's your show?
It's next Friday after the art walk at 8:30.
It was last.
It was.
Sure. I'm pretty sure I'm free.
We can do this piece. I can put you on a schedule.
That really worked out nicely
We'll talk
too.
after.
Yeah, okay.
Thank
Wow,
you.
I could see
But-
a little more hip movement there.
Yeah.
I was going to say you saw it here first. You didn't see it here first. You will have seen it on the art walk. That's really wonderful. I hope you have a great time together. Very, very nice.
Yeah.
I think we got to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
Rich, how are you, man? Rich Sims and I are pals from we're pals from Crew. Solar Powered Crew FM, which is a 100.1 on your FM dial, whatever that is, and also at krufm.com on the internet. You know what that is because you like to shop. Okay. I just love saying that. It's like one line. It's like the legal language at the end of a commercial. I'm always amazed, and your show follows mine sometimes, like in the past it has, and I've always loved what your shows are Ultra Lounge, and you've got another show also. You've got
Listening to the movies.
Listening to the movies, and whenever I'm totally shocked whenever you're playing the movie music because you're playing some of the, you'll play like, a standard, you'll play like a Spielberg piece or so, something from a Spielberg movie, or a John Williams piece or something like that, and then all of a sudden you'll be going retro. You're able to mix this stuff so beautifully, and it's like your ear is able to hear how these pieces are supposed to be sagging together. You, sir, have a music history that you need to share with us. What you went to school for this, and not for this, but you went to music school, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, I've been listening to music since I was 5 years old, okay? From the radio, right? Growing up with the radio, I mean, that was like my best friend through, grammar school, skipping down the hall singing Drop the Coin Right Into the Slot to Chuck Berry, Growing up with rhythm and blues and a lot of soul and rock and roll. And then,
who were some of your favorite artists back then? You were talking about as a kid. How old are you?
Well, we're talking, in grammar school. I mean, 7, 8, 9 years old.
Cool.
Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Jerry Lee Lewis, Fats Domino, Ray Charles, whatever I heard, James Brown. Nice. I grew up in San Francisco, so the radio we had a very profuse amount of music there.
And you grew up in a period where that music was the first time out. You weren't listening to it on an oldie station.
Right.
So how did it, I know that in some places in the country it was very hard because of the, it was called, for instance, a lot of the soulful music was called, race music or whatever. It was just labeled poorly because people were afraid of people, rocking or grooving to music. How did it, when you were growing up, did you find that?
Really?
Let me rephrase that. It's like you can't identify. Kids these days can't even imagine something like that. The fear of this music coming into the culture. Did you? Now you were in California, which forever has been open-minded, but then again, it's also been pretty conservative when it came to like the family unit and stuff. How did you feel when you were growing up? Was there any kind of limitations, or was there any kind of? Did you feel that there was any kind of a taboo to listening to this music?
No, I never felt a taboo, but there was the kind of, certainly with my parents, and there was some racial issues there. So, black music was kind of like, it was just raw. It was really raw, and that came through. And I think just the soul of it was like, wow. I could see why later on the white guys, the American rock and roll musicians, and especially the English cats, they latched onto all of that and they made something out of it. Yeah. So
and in adolescence and those when the hormones are going nuts, it's like it was something to totally identify with. Yeah. Did you and the funny thing is that our parents grew up in a period where there was swing, and swing was accused of the same thing. Not only was swing accused of the same, of course it was okay because the GIs were going over to fight, overseas, and do anything you want just as long as you're protecting the country. I think was the attitude then. But there was before then there was blues, and the blues was sort of mischievous. The blues had a lot of topics that were talk about taboo, and there were drugs sung about, and there were conditions, human conditions that. And you know what? It isn't like I think it isn't like your standard middle class family knew that. They weren't like recalling that information, but they were. But that's the connection. I mean, that's the lineage. It's rhythm and blues, and that's the connection to great rock and roll, and then rock and roll, of course, exploding. With Moondog and everybody promoting the heck out of it at a certain point, realizing this is the music of this generation. Do you see, a couple of guys like us, little older than these guys here. Do you feel like, is there anything that comes close now that's so frightening or so troubling? So, is there a music that could be out there? Maybe hip hop was for a while. Hip hop was troubling to, I guess, the white middle class or all of that. But is there anything out there in your mind, or and this is a jump ball? Is there anything happening in music right now that seems to be pushing the envelope, where something is more in your face than not? Maybe as Elvis Presley broke rules and broke new music, as well as Chuck Berry and all those guys. Is there anything happening like that now, in your opinion?
I mean, it's a good question. Because
is it Skrillex?
I ask myself that question a lot. Okay, who today? All right, where's the Miles Davis? Where's the Ray Charles?
Yeah.
Where's the even Jerry Garcia?
Yeah.
Where are these people? And they may be out there, but I think even contemporaries are asking that question too, as they're going along, like in the present tense. What's happening? And of course, people don't get discovered right away. I mean, even Frank Zappa's music is, decades before. There's still decades ahead before he's going to get discovered.
Right. Frank Zappa, and the closest thing I guess was in the classical world, you had P.D.Q. Bach, and you had a couple of people like that. I mean, there's just I'm with you. It seems like, where are those people? Where are the Ray Charles with it?
You guys know? You have any ideas? About
Yeah, I mean, how do you feel about? Let's make it a broader question. When you're looking at music these days, this isn't particularly an artist's show as far as music artists, but you're all artists. So you listen to music. What are you listening to, and what is there anything that's new that's like grabbing you? I'll say for me, it's like stuff like Bon Iver. Fleet Foxes. It's kind of like moody Catholic music is how I'm referring to it. Catholic folk. It reminds me of my playing guitar in church. But I don't, is there anything that's moving you in that way? I mean, I threw Skrillex out there because I like to say the word Skrillex. But that artist has seemed to have had an effect on electronic music. Everybody, and Deadmau5 and DJs, that are in the mix right now. What is happening in your perspective? Is there anything that's like...
Well, I just know in the belly dance world, there's a westernization of Middle Eastern music right now because, like I said, us Western girls have kind of taken over belly dance because the women are not, they can't really easily do it over there.
Yeah.
So there's like these tribal belly dance groups, and tribal belly dance is just kind of, it's an American fabrication, of what it must have been like back then with the women dancing together, and it's like an American evolved style.
Right.
So they have this music. It's kind of like electronic, but like gypsy kind of fusion kind of thing going on.
Okay.
And if I may perform a track from it. So there's a group called Beats Antique, and it seems that even mainstream people who are not in the belly dance world know about them.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that perhaps it's world music. Perhaps
Maybe.
world is blossoming again.
Right, exactly.
I have to say there are groups like Kings of Convenience. I keep coming back to that group because they're so wonderful. They're almost samba, and it's a strange kind of thing. But they sang a song that sounded like Simon and Garfunkel on one of their albums, and it was like, again, which one of these is not like the other? But I heard that and I said, well, what group of them sound like they come from Ohio or whatever? And it turns out, no, they come from Denmark.
Oh.
Make it do better. You know who I'm talking about? Kings of
Yeah.
Convenience. Really wonderful act. And I have been looking more. I mean, I mentioned Fleet Foxes and Bon Iver earlier, but I've been looking more to the world scene for my music, for music that touches me, because I'm left cold by a lot of the electronic music that's happening now. It's not a prejudice. It's more like, I've already been there. I've been there. That was called the 80s.
Right.
And a lot of these sounds and a lot of the catalog that was left over from the 80s is unlistenable. A lot of it is wonderful, but a lot of it's unlistenable to me because production was so it's like ridiculous stuff, and that's playing against maybe some of the like sweetest lyrics and melody you're going to hear. So they kind of ruined. My feeling is they ruined the opportunity, and a lot of people do make fun of the 80s because of that. Although there's also the other side of that, which is everybody has a lot of fun with that music. It represented like going out and dancing and having fun.
Right.
So I think we're in that period again. It's like another dance round that we're going through. But out of the dance rounds, there's very little that stays in the vernacular. There's very little that survives those fads. And I'm afraid we're in that right now because I can't name you, and this isn't from not trying, although it might be from the brain cells going at this point. But I can't name you 5 to 10. In the past I'd be able to name you 10 incredible acts. I can name you Lady Gaga. I can name you acts that use beats. But I can't name you electronic acts that mean something to me right now.
Like on my Ultra Lounge radio show.
Yeah.
So, a lot
That
of
was another period where...
Yeah, I mean, a lot of artists today are going back to periods, to the Great American Songbook and such like that.
You're right on.
So, like on my Ultra Lounge, I might play, like Tony Bennett's duets, where he's doing a duet with Lady Gaga and Amy Winehouse, and
Right.
those people, the younger people, I mean, they're going back to the really... the base, the standards of American music.
Yeah.
So, and people go back maybe even further, whatever, and then make something out of a blues thing or an early jazz tune or something like that. But I'll play, a lot of stuff from Ultra Lounge, which is crime jazz and, kind
Love
of
that stuff.
big, big beat music, kind of groovy stuff. I mean, I do a whole mix of stuff from anywhere from some of the rock and roll tunes that Henry Mancini did from his low-budget exploitation B movies,
Yeah.
which people just don't hear, and it's really great stuff, all the way to a lot of Italian composers that will do a lot of go-go discotheque music stuff from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So I do a whole mix on that. Today, I don't know. I play some contemporary modern ultra lounge groups, Combustible Edison, The Fathoms, a lot of surf rock stuff.
Nice.
But I'll do a whole mix on ultra lounge. Film
Yeah.
music is another thing.
That must be very difficult for you because you have such a broad taste. How do you whittle down?
As long as I'm coming across good material, then it's easy to put stuff together. The thing was, seeing growing up, my parents, they listened to Sinatra and they had Ellington and some stuff. And I didn't appreciate that music then because I was into rock and roll.
Yeah, me
then
too.
later on, when I majored in music, and there was a period of time, 2021, where I only listened to classical and jazz.
Right.
And so I developed an ear for music. So any kind of music that's well arranged and orchestrated and it's got good melodies, that's what I'm into.
Most adventurous orchestration in your mind of all time, film music, or it could be anything. But
Well,
film
adventurous,
music.
say in film music or ultra lounge.
Let's say both because you have two
Okay,
shows.
so like ultra lounge,
on
say,
solar powered
very
Crew FM.
adventurous would be like Esquivel, Juan Garcia Esquivel, who was
Perfect.
considered the undisputed king of space age pop, which is another name
Yeah.
for bachelor pad music.
Bachelor pad.
And he was a Mexican. He was an engineer, and he was a very, very innovative guy who did unusual instrumentations and just kind of whacked you with these big blasts of zoos and zooms and vocals and that's probably a really big one. Plus Ellington was pretty.
My favorite my favorite almost of all time is Ellington.
Yeah.
And there are a couple of Miles Davis, Brubeck, and Ellington.
And
are my
of course
favorite jazz
Basie too.
Basie.
And so.
By the way, now I want to add on to the Esquivel story.
Yeah.
Do you think there would have been a Joe Meek if there had been no Esquivel?
Probably not.
Yeah, they were both doing the same thing, and he was doing it in the early '60s, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
What do you think as far as what is your favorite score of all time?
Well,
Film score.
let's put it. I just my parents took me. I was in Santa Cruz in 1959. They took me to a movie theater to see North by Northwest, and there was Bernard Herrmann's score, and I was flabbergasted. It threw me against the wall, and I just fell in love with film music from then.
Nice. When is your show on?
It's
On solar powered Crew FM, which is
Every-
100.1 in your room.
Every Wednesday from 2 to 4. 2 to 3 is Ultra Lounge. 3 to 4 listening to the movies.
Beautiful. Okay. And if somebody wants to contact you for belly dancing lessons,
Well, they can find me on Facebook, Regine Constant. I also have a Regine Constant belly dance page. And I teach at MUM Rec Center, which is, MUM is 2000 North B Street, I believe it is. North Court,
Yeah.
North B Street at the Rec Center.
It's
Saturday,
North 4th Street.
North 4th Street.
so 1,000 or 2,000?
1,000 are the rest of the university. 2,000 is the trailer park area. I think the rec center is on the 2,000.
Okay.
Okay,
I
so
never know. I
2,000.
never know how to
I
do
know.
divvy up that whole thing.
2000 North 4th Street. Is that it?
Might
But
be
there's,
on
there's
B-
actually an
I don't
entrance
know.
on B Street.
You know
Yeah.
where the rec center is. Just go.
Saturdays from 2 to 3 p.m.
Okay. And David,
Beginners welcome.
beginners welcome, including from this show. Rich. Okay.
Yeah.
And David, if somebody wants to take lessons from your poetry school, how do they contact you?
You can also find me on Facebook, just David Lareese, DEVALAREES. Or my email address is davidlareese, no punctuation, @gmail.com.
Right. And of course, everybody calls you. Your nickname is Dave, right?
No.
No, it isn't.
in
All right.
in preschool, when I joined preschool, and my parents told the teacher my name, she was like, "Can I call him Dave?" Or she asked them, and then she asked me, "Can I call you Dave?" And I remember I was like, I guess I would have been like 3 or something, but I remember that my answer was, "You can, but I won't answer."
Oh,
Wow.
See, we got a little foreshadowing back then too. I am really, really thrilled with the three of you. This was a lot of fun for me, and I hope you guys had some fun today too.
Yeah.
Totally
I-
great.
we're saving a little space here so that Regine can have a little show at the end of the show, which is Fairfield 2.0. And I really appreciate you guys watching today and keeping the show alive and well. And who knows? One of these days, you're going to be on the show, and we'll be interviewing you and having all sorts of fun, hopefully. And I really do appreciate all of your time. And please come back again. We'll do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you
This
so
particular
much.
3, we're going to have all 3 back. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
Fairfield. Stay tuned for the performance, Regine Constant.